to Richard Vaughan Live.
Hello, welcome. Yes, sir, welcome to a new edition. Today is Tuesday, I believe, the second day of the working week. So, welcome to Tuesday's edition of Richard Vaughan Live. For the first time, I'm on TV. Well, this is not the first time I'm on television. I've been on television many times. But as far as I can remember, it's interesting when you say, for example, que yo sepa, as far as I know. Que yo sepa. But when you say in English, que yo recuerde, I think almost always we insert can. As far as I can remember, this is the first time I'm simultaneous. No, it's not. I remember now. I've had a stroke of memory. Yeah, many years ago I was on TV and radio simultaneously. That's what you call multitasking. And usually men don't know how to multitask. Women are consummate multitaskers, but men usually aren't. But I remember many years ago, maybe about 12 years ago, a television station did a special on Vaughan Radio. A television station, a national TV station here in Spain, did a special on Vaughan Radio. And so they visited our studios here. And it was my program, and so at the same time I was talking to you through the microphone, I was looking at the camera, etc. So I was multitasking. TV and radio at the same time. How many people do that? Well, nowadays, more and more radio stations have television cameras in the studios. And you can see the people in the radio station, the DJ or the radio presenter, the DJ, the disc jockey, sitting around a table with other people, and they're not looking at the cameras. They're usually sitting in a slouched posture and just talking like they would normally talk on the radio. But TV's different because, people are watching, which means you can't pick your nose. You can't do things that normally you wouldn't do in public. All right, so you need to behave. You need to sit up straight. Keep your back straight, Richard. Don't slouch. Keep your back straight. Don't slouch. And you too. Come on, sit up straight. Come on, sit up straight. You're slouching. Don't slouch. Sit up straight. Keep your back straight. It's good for your posture. People who develop poor posture don't live as long as people who keep their back straight. I suppose. I don't know. But in any case, I'm here to teach you English. As you know, my job is an English teacher. I'm an English teacher. My job is to teach you English. Your job is to learn English. Your job is a lot more difficult than mine. Your job is a lot harder than mine. All right, learning English is not an easy task, but I'm your taskmaster with my whip. It's invisible, but it's here. I'm your taskmaster, and my job is to provoke or to encourage you, let's say, not to provoke anything. But yeah, my job is partially to dare you to learn English. Come on, to encourage you, to motivate you. To learn English, to make the English language attractive so that you want to learn it. Because if you really want to learn something, the learning curve changes, often dramatically. Yeah, suddenly English becomes more attractive. Suddenly it's easier to assimilate. Suddenly it's easier to transform into a good lexicon and a good diction and good sentence structure. And suddenly you find yourself speaking English a lot better than 1 year ago. Why? Because you pay attention. And why do you pay attention? Because you like English. And why do you like English? Because your teacher is good. And how do you know your teacher is good? Because you enjoy it. Yeah. How do you know if your English teacher is good? Well, it's like Cupid's arrow, man. It goes through your heart. Yeah, the learning process, the teacher's job in the learning process is to reach the student's heart, not the student's mind. So the objective, if you can go through the heart, it goes up to the brain. Heart, brain. Not brain, heart, usually. There are exceptions. But if you reach the emotional, if you touch the emotional chord or the emotional strain of a student, that student will wake up, pay attention, start enjoying it, and suddenly the learning curve, I repeat, changes drastically. Drastically or dramatically? In English, we say dramatically. It's funny. In Spanish, you don't. In Spanish, they don't. Well, they use the word dramatico, yeah. But it's about a drama, something dramatic. But they don't use the adjective dramatic or the adverb dramatically in the way I'm using it here. Cambiar la curva de aprendizaje de una manera dramática. It sounds too dramatic in Spanish, but not in English. To change the curve dramatically, say, wow, yeah, I suddenly like English. Why? English is cool. Yeah, como mola este idioma. I love English. It's really cool. Why is English cool? Because English is a language, just like French, Spanish, German, Italian, Chinese. This is a language in which you have to learn the verb structures, conjugate verbs. You have to line up the syntax of the sentence, yeah, and then say it right with as good pronunciation as possible, which is not always easy. And then you have to understand when people speak to you in Scottish accents, in Texas accents, in Australian accents, in all South African accents. And some people speak clearly, some people slur when they talk like this. They don't pronounce very clearly, very low resolution. Some people don't know how to express themselves well. And this happens among many professionals, especially technical professionals, engineers. They don't speak English clearly often, but a Spanish engineer has to be able to understand an English engineer who doesn't necessarily enunciate. It's interesting, the word enunciate. Enunciate escrito, enunciate. This is an important verb. In Spanish, you have the verb enunciar, but you don't use it. You use it in mathematical problems. When you have to read a mathematical problem. A train leaves Madrid at 100 kilometers an hour, and at the same time, a second train leaves Barcelona at 150 kilometers an hour, and they cross in at a certain point along the way. What point do they cross? Now, that's a mathematical problem. And that paragraph that you read in Spanish is called el enunciado. Okay. Now, it's important. In English, we just say the problem. It's important to express the problem correctly if it's an exam, a maths exam. But in any case, to enunciate in English means to make an effort to speak with high resolution. I am here to teach you English. I'm enunciating. In fact, I'm over-enunciating. I'm here to teach you. You're here to learn. Okay, I'm expressing myself in a certain high-resolution way. So I'm enunciating very clearly. To enunciate in Spanish, you say vocalize, vocalizar. We don't say vocalize in English. We say to enunciate. And so I'm going to enunciate, but I'm not going to speak slowly. But my job, I repeat, is to teach. Your job, I repeat, is to learn. Your job is a tough one. My job is easy. I've been doing this all my life. I can teach with my eyes closed. See? Right? I can teach with my eyes closed. I can also teach with my eyes open. All right? It doesn't matter. You know, it's what's good about being a teacher is you can lose your sight. You can be blind. And you can be the best teacher in the world. That's interesting about being blind or being deaf. If you're deaf, you can't hear. If you're blind, you can't see. But interesting, if you ask a person, would you rather be blind or deaf? If you ask a person, try it. Try asking a friend or a neighbor or an acquaintance, excuse me, Pedro, would you rather be blind or deaf? Most people would probably say deaf. That they would rather be deaf because they consider blindness to be a terrible handicap, even worse than being deaf. However, if you stop and think about it, Fijaos cómo se dice esta frase. In Spanish, si te paras a pensar en ello, si te paras a pensarlo. If you stop and, in English se dice and. If you stop and think about it, really, ponder this question. Would you rather be blind or deaf? If you think about it enough, you'll realize that blindness is not as handicapping as deafness. There are many jobs you can do, many things you can do if you're blind. It's not a handicap. Sometimes it could be, even maybe, it could be an advantage in the sense that it enhances the other four senses. We have 5 senses. Well, women, they say, have a 6th sense, which I don't really believe. Well, yes, they do, but usually they're wrong. Their 6th sense is wrong. But in any case, we have 5 senses. The sense of feel, or the sense of touch. We say feel or touch. We have the sense of smell. We have the sense of sight, our vision. We have a sense of hearing. And I'm forgetting one. I always forget one of the 5. And taste. Yum, yum. Yummy, yummy. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I've got love in my tummy. All right, but if you lose one of your senses, some people think, rightfully or wrongfully, some people think that this will enhance, realzar. Enhance means increase, increment. This will enhance your other 4 senses. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems plausible. Yeah, it seems plausible. So if you lose your sight and you can't see, well, there are many guitarists, pianists, composers who are brilliant. I mean, the history is full. Recent history is full of a lot of very popular artists, musicians, Jose Feliciano, Stevie Wonder, of course, Joaquin Rodrigo, Maestro Rodrigo. You know, the Concierto de Aranjuez, la-da-da, la-da-da, etc. He was blind all his life. And, of course, Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, was partially blind. He was very, very nearsighted or short-sighted. Yeah, myope, you can say myopic, but we don't say it usually. There are 2 ways to say it. The Americans say nearsighted, near, sighted, right-handed, left-handed, open-minded, hard-headed, far-sighted, nearsighted, short-sighted. Okay, here we use the word sight as a verb, sighted. The Americans say nearsighted, and the British say short-sighted for myope. The Americans say short-sighted as well, but then we use it figuratively. That means your approach to something or your vision of something, say, come on, that's a very short-sighted opinion. So we use it figuratively. Don't be so short-sighted. Can't you see the reality of the situation? I think that's a short-sighted decision. So in the British use short-sighted literally and figuratively, I think. Whereas, mientras que. The British use short-sighted both ways. Whereas the Americans say nearsighted for the physical impairment, visual impairment, and short-sighted for the figurative approach of just not seeing reality or not seeing the complete picture of something when you need to make a decision, for example. But if you lose your sight, if the question of would you rather be blind or deaf, that's a hard question. But if you're blind, there are many things you can do. There are many jobs that blind people can do. I've met a lot of outstanding people from the Spanish Blind Association, what they call the La ONCE. And they are people who have worked in very important positions and had a lot of critical responsibilities that they've had to carry out and done it very, very well. So I see it as a terrible handicap, but you can overcome it, or there are many, many things you can do. I can teach English. I could come here every day on the radio, even on TV. I could do. They just tell me where the camera is, and I'll look at the camera. So look there. Now you're looking at the camera, and so I can look at the camera, and I can speak to the camera. Hello, camera. How are you? Yeah. But I know that behind the camera, you're there. I know you're there. I can't see you. I can't smell you. I can't touch you. I can't taste you, but I can feel you. I can feel that you're there. Yeah, I have a hunch. I have a hunch. A hunch, like el almuerzo is lunch. Lunch, le quitas la L al almuerzo y le añades una H aspirada. You have hunch. I have a hunch you're there, which means I have a premonition, a feeling. I've got a feeling deep inside, whoa, yeah, that you're there. I know you're there. You're watching me, aren't you? Eh? Say something. Wave. Yeah, I mean, acknowledge my presence, eh? I'm acknowledging your presence. I can see you behind the camera. I know you're there watching. And you're probably drawing certain conclusions. You're drawing conclusions. This guy's an old man, or this guy's a little bit crazy. This guy speaks with a British accent, maybe? No, I don't. I'm speaking with an American accent. But it's funny, here in Spain, this is true, it's here in Spain, many people think I'm British. First of all, because I often dress nicely, and people think Americans are sloppy. And the British, they compare James Bond. When they think of a British man, for example, they think of James Bond. Or a British parliamentarian, an MP, a member of parliament. And then when they think of an American, they think of the typical American tourist with a camera around his neck and wearing shorts and a pink shirt or a red shirt on vacation. And they compare. And of course, it's an invalid comparison. You need to go to Wall Street in New York City or something, or go to the business districts of any major city in the United States, and you see people dress usually very elegantly, quite well. And the same in Britain, Great Britain. But people see me and they think I'm British. And when they hear me speak English, they think I'm speaking British English because they understand me. And so many people here in Spain have the wrong idea that British English is understandable and American English is not. But it's not true. There are a lot of Americans who speak very high resolution, very attractive English, and in UK and Australia the same. If you encounter a well-educated person, normally you are going to encounter a person who speaks well, and you will enjoy listening to that person. Like in Spanish, I enjoy listening to people from Andalusia or from Catalonia or from Galicia, from Asturias, from the center of Spain, and from Mexico, from Peru, if they're well-educated. I mean, I grew up in Texas. And in Texas, about 25 or, well, I would say 30% of the population is Hispanic. Yeah, Mexican-American in the majority. And these people speak Spanish, very different from here. They say, voy a manejar el troque al liche, which means voy a conducir el camión hasta la zanja. Voy a manejar el troque al liche, después reparar el rufo, reparar el tejado, el rufo, the roof. However, when you encounter people in San Antonio, Texas, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas, Harlingen, you encounter Mexican Americans who have a good education, una buena formación académica. They speak beautiful Spanish. They don't usually say troque o diche o rufo, but they say words like, voy a manejar el carro al estacionamiento. All right. And so, y cuidado con la banqueta instead of el bordillo cuando se estaciona. But they speak very well. And when you start talking to them about interesting subjects, you find that their command of Spanish is as powerful and as beautiful as the command you can find of any well-educated person in Spain. And you find the same thing in the English-speaking world. You can go to Jamaica even and speak to a well-educated man or woman, and they will speak English in a beautiful way, often with a Jamaican tinge to their pronunciation or a tone. You find the same in Scotland, in Ireland, in the Midlands, in the UK, in southern England, in the center of London, and also in Toronto, Vancouver, anywhere, Canada. It's interesting. Probably the easiest person on this radio, on Vaughan Radio, to understand is Kyle Miller. When he speaks, he says, "Hello, everybody, and welcome to Drive Time." Okay, it's impossible not to understand him. He speaks crystal clear English. We often say crystal clear. Más claro como un cristal. But we say crystal clear. Crystal con Y, no con Y latina. With a Y and not an I. All right, crystal clear English. And people love listening to his show. Me too. I enjoy it. But one of the reasons Spanish listeners here in Spain enjoy listening to Kyle Miller is because they understand him perfectly. It's a rush when you understand a second language perfectly that normally you don't understand. For example, French, the French language. I speak French. I have a high intermediate level of French. And so when I go to Paris, in normal circumstances, I can speak with no problem, but I can't understand the people. When they speak to me, I don't understand. I understand the word. I understand words, but I can't follow usually. And so it's very frustrating for me. Listening comprehension is always the key to mastery of a second language. You must understand. You must understand calmly and in a very easygoing way, because if you don't, you become tense and it affects your oral production. And so you begin to stammer, to stutter, to make more mistakes than usual when you speak because you feel insecure. And you feel insecure because you're not understanding perfectly. And you have to tense up and try to understand. And that becomes counterproductive. It's a downward spiral, like a plane going down in a nosedive. To dive is zambullir, to dive. For example, if you go to the edge of a swimming pool, the deep end, not the shallow end, by the way. If you go to the deep end of a swimming pool, there are two ways to jump into the water. You can simply jump in feet first, or you can dive. And to dive. Now, to dive is also used for planes. For example, we have a dive bomber. In the war, you fly. There are basically two types of planes. A fighter plane, what you call un caza. You have a fighter plane, and you have a bomber. There are other types of planes, but basically, for example, in the Second World War, there were basically two types of planes, fighter planes and bombers. Bombers were these big flying fortresses with 10 people inside, gunners, pilots, co-pilots, navigators, all together flying a bomber, flying over France and into Germany, dropping bombs, turning around and going back if they managed to survive. Sometimes from Great Britain, they sent 500 flying fortresses and only 300 came back. That's how fortified the target was, with anti-aircraft fire to try to bring down or to shoot down or to bring down the planes. So the bombers and the fighter pilots. Now, fighter pilots often, when they wanted to destroy a target on the ground and not get involved in a dogfight. We say a dogfight. It's interesting. Pelea de perros. We say a dogfight when different planes are fighting each other in the air. But many times a fighter pilot goes down and shoots. Okay, that's called to nosedive. Nosedive. But to go into a nosedive also is to go down when you lose control of the plane and the plane starts to fall. Vertically, a pure vertical fall, and the pilot is trying to take it out of the nosedive. That's a very frantic job, when a plane goes into a nosedive. So many times pilots have managed to take it out of a nosedive. I remember one pilot for one of the commercial airlines. There were 100 passengers in the plane or more. This happened about 30 years ago. And the plane had a problem, and it fell into a nosedive, going straight down. And the pilot was trying to figure out ways to get it back up. And finally, this pilot had 30,000 hours of experience, 30,000 flying hours. And so he remembered, just from certain moments, that if he released the landing gear, what you call a tren de aterrizaje. We say the landing gear. And he opened up the landing gear and he created a drag of the wind, and it allowed him to come out of the nosedive. by opening the landing gear. They're telling me that I only have 1 minute left. Yeah. Isn't this an interesting subject? Nosedives and things. We're talking about everything imaginable, you know? Dramatic changes in your English. Nosedives, the landing gear. Gear means engranaje, but gear also means different types of instrumentation. Gear, electronic gear. I use electronic. I'm a spy. Sometimes. That's on my part. I'm a part-time spy, and I use electronic gear to monitor the conversations of other people. For example, Nacho in the sound booth. Yeah. I have electronic gear over in the sound booth to monitor what he says. All right. And what he's saying right now is, my time's up for the moment, but I'll be back. Don't worry. It's the final countdown, but I'll be right back, okay?
En 3 meses puedes hacer muchas cosas. Puedes ahorrar para irte de viaje a Japón.
55, 56, 57... Alberto, ¿me dejas 23 céntimos para una caña?
O también puedes hacer un curso trimestral en Vaughan. En solo 3 meses verás cómo tu inglés da un importante salto de calidad. Si necesitas mejorar tu inglés sin perder el tiempo, con un método que realmente funciona, hazte con uno de nuestros cursos trimestrales. La matrícula ya está abierta. Infórmate sin compromiso en el 91-133-5833 o en grupovaughan.com. Llámanos al 91-133-5833 y nuestros compañeros te informarán de la solución Vaughan que mejor se adapte a tus objetivos y a tu bolsillo. Y no te preocupes, hablan español.
3 meses y luego ¡pum! Ya está. ¡Qué fácil! Apúntate a nuestros cursos trimestrales. En solo 3 meses perfeccionarás tu inglés. Cursos trimestrales de Vaughan. grupovaughan.com.
Momento Back to Basics.
Irene, we are going back to the basics. Volvemos a lo más básico porque siempre es importante repasar esas cosas, ¿ok?
Sí, ok.
Y para ayudarnos he traído a un amigo monstruo mío y es un sugervo.
Anda, ¿y eso qué es?
Un sugervo es un monstruo ahí del planeta Inglesáctica y lo que quiere hacer él es acordarte de que en inglés, en frases afirmativas, siempre tenemos que poner un sujeto antes del verbo. Por eso se llama el sugervo.
Muy
sugervo, majo. Sujeto, verbo, sugervo, ¿ok? ¿Por qué? Porque en español no es necesario siempre incluir el sujeto, ¿no? Que no sueles decir yo soy... bla, 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 ni él es, y etcétera, ¿ok? Pero en inglés sí. No podemos decir cosas como is a dog, ¿ok? Para decir es un perro, tenemos que incluir el sujeto, it, ¿ok? It is a dog, o en su forma contraída,
it's a dog.
Muy bien, it's a dog, muy bien, ¿ok? Ok, vamos a imaginar que yo no he dominado ese truco sugervo, ¿ok?
Vale.
Y tú me vas a corregir, ¿ok?
Ok.
Is very nice.
It's very nice.
It's very nice.
It's very nice.
Berry, ¿qué significa?
Muy.
Berry es una fruta roja.
Strawberry.
¿Ok? It's
very nice.
Good. It's very nice. Good. Is over the bed.
It's over the bed.
Good. ¿Qué significa esa frase?
Está encima de la cama.
Good. Ahí nuestra palabra del mes, encima de, no la toca, ¿vale? It's over the bed. Good. Ahora, lo que falta aquí es el sujeto this, ¿ok? El sugervo dice que tenemos que incluir el sujeto this en frases como, esto no es muy bueno.
This isn't very good.
Good. Que no dices isn't very good, this isn't very good. Isn't very hygienic.
This isn't very hygienic.
Good. Very hygienic.
Very hygienic.
Repite.
This isn't very hygienic.
Good. Perfect.
Sobre los programas enfocados a empresas, llama al 91-133-5831 y nuestros compañeros te darán más información. De aprender inglés, de mejorar, de aumentar tu nivel, ya nos ocupamos nosotros. Pero tienes que llamar antes. 91-133-5831. las mañanas son más productivas con Richard Vaughan.
You're listening to Richard Vaughan Live.
Welcome back. Here we are, back together again. This is my first day on television on our new streaming system. I hope you're enjoying it. At least you can see what I look like. Este tipo, yeah. I put a voice. You have to put the face with the voice. Put it together. It's interesting. People on the radio is an interesting type of feeling, both for the DJ or the radio announcer or presenter and the listener, because they establish a relationship based on voice only. They can't see the person. It's quite interesting that when you encounter a new radio voice, and when you're a listener, a radio listener, and you encounter a new radio voice that you like, and you say, I wonder what that person looks like. I wonder what that person looks like. I wonder. ¿Cómo se parece? ¿Cómo será? ¿Cómo será su aspecto? In English, we would say, I wonder. I wonder what this new DJ, disc jockey, looks like. I like his voice, or I like her voice. Yeah. And so you design a picture. You create a picture of the person in your head. Yeah. And usually, of course, it doesn't coincide. There's a saying here in Spain that if a DJ has a beautiful or very nice voice, he's ugly. All right. Which is not always true. But in any case, the idea is the voice, especially for females. They say that the ear for women is their second sex organ. The second most important sexual organ on a woman is her ear. So if you want to win a woman's heart, start through the ear with your voice. So men, young men, boys, young men, and men should try to develop a nice voice. Develop a way. If you're interested in attracting women, you should try to develop a nice voice because they respond to this aural stimuli. Okay, they respond, and it's very important on the radio to have a nice radio voice that's attractive in people. And I didn't know. I started on radio. The first time I spoke on a radio show in my life was on May 1st. Yeah, May 1st, which is a holiday here in this country. But I did my first 2 hours on the radio in my life, May 1st, 2003. All right. Yeah, I was 51. So as you say in Spanish, it's never too late. We'd say in English, it's never too late. And in Spanish, they usually say, nunca es tarde si la dicha es buena. All right, strange expression because la dicha is always buena. You should change it to nunca es tarde si el resultado es bueno or something like that. But nevertheless, sayings and proverbs don't always make sense grammatically. All right. For example, the expression, no hay mal que por bien no venga. Okay. This means it's a blessing in disguise, or every black cloud has a silver lining, which means there's something positive in everything negative. You can extract some essence of positivity or some essence of good from things evil, apparently evil. You can extract through the proper distillation process, of course. You need to apply a good distillation process to be able to extract positive elements from apparently negative situations. Some people can do it. These people are usually optimists by nature and not pessimists. And so they can see the silver lining It's interesting. There's an expression, I think, in English, it goes, every black cloud has a silver lining. Now, lining is el revestimiento exterior, the lining. Also in a jacket, if you're wearing a jacket, the internal part to keep you warm is called the lining. We have to line your jacket. He's going to line his jacket, means se va a forrar de dinero. He's going to make a killing. Yeah, he's going to get rich. He's going to line his jacket. He's going to make a killing. All right. But the lining is also the outside. And so silver lining means around the black cloud, you have a silver lining, which means there's a potential for benefit. There's a potential for positive elements. And so you have to always look on the bright side of life. You remember from the famous movie, Life of Brian, with Monty Python. At the end, poor Brian has been mistakenly crucified. It was, he was not Jesus of Nazareth. He was Brian, not Brian of Nazareth. I think he was Brian of Jerusalem. And he ends up being crucified with about 10 other people. And so it's clear that they have maybe a few hours left. And they decide to be positive about everything. And they say, with a very strong British accent, always look on the bright side of life. Do-do, do-do, do-do. Always look on the bright side of life, yeah. It's a blessing in disguise. And you have an expression in Spanish, no hay mal que por bien no venga, which means the same thing. Yeah. But it doesn't make sense grammatically. I have tried to, dissect that sentence, diseccionar. Desentrañar. I've tried to dissect that expression grammatically, and I can't make heads or tails of it. I can't make heads or tails out of it. I can't make heads or tails. If I have a coin, I don't have a coin. But when you have a coin, heads or tails, you flip a coin or toss. T-O-S-S, toss means arrojar, lanzar. Lanzar una moneda al aire. Toss a coin or to flip. To flip means da saltos mortales. Boom. And a coin, when you toss a coin in the air to say heads or tails, well, the coin turns, and that's flipping, because to flip means to do a somersault, to flip. If this is a person, and the person goes, whoop, that's to flip. All right, to flip, it's to do a somersault. Gymnasts, professional, Olympic gymnasts are very good at doing somersaults. Backward somersaults, forward somersaults, flipping. And of course, to flip out, I'm flipping out means I'm very, very surprised. Yeah, I'm flipping out. And in Spanish now you say flipa, macho flipa, vas a flipar. They've taken the verb from English and Spanishized it. And it has a little bit of a different meaning maybe. To flip out means to go crazy, just to really, but to flip out means you're very, very surprised. In Spanish, flipa, macho, they say here. I don't know if they say that in Mexico, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Colombia, I don't know. But here in Spain, it's becoming very, very, very common to hear flipa or flipar and these things. But a blessing in disguise, a blessing in disguise, a blessing to bless, for example, the priest. The priest. All right. Before the priest, on a baptism, a christening of a baby, there are several sacraments. The first sacrament is the baptism in the Christian religion, not only in Catholicism, but also in the Protestant denominations. And I think, and in the Eastern Orthodox Church as well, the concept or the sacrament of baptism is the first. The baby is born, and very, very soon, in a few days or 1 month later, the priest or the pastor or the minister of the church or an ordained person performs the baptism or the christening, con T mudo en medio, christening, and they use water, holy water, not just normal water. You just don't open the tap and say, okay, no. Well, you can do that. You can open the tap, or the faucet, and the water comes out into a container, all right? And then that water is valid for the baptism, but first you need to bless the water. And by blessing the water, it transforms it into holy water. And then you're in a position to perform the rites of baptism, los ritos, the baptism ritual, the rites of baptism, and you baptize the baby. In the Christian approach, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, etc., etc., etc. All right, and these things. Like Don McLean. You remember Don McLean? With the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost? Don't you remember the song? Don McLean, he wrote the song, Bye Bye Miss American Pie, drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Yeah. All right, well, at the very end of this long 7 or 8 minute song, there's a moment when he slows down and he says, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, they took the last train to the coast, the day the music died, etc. Yeah, I remember now. The 3 men I admired most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they took the last train for the coast, the day the music died, and they were singing by, etc., etc. You remember, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, we also say the Holy Spirit. But holy means sacred, sagrado, santo, saintly, sacred, holy. All right, 3 words basically for the same thing. And so holy water is what priests or pastors use for the baptism rites, to baptize. All right, and they baptize in that, apparently according to Christian dogma and Christian tradition, eliminates original sin. All right, what they call pecado original. A bit of a strange concept here, but I'm not going to get into religion. Not today, maybe another day, who knows? Comparative religions is a fascinating field. But that's not my field. My field is English teaching. My field is teaching you. And your field, I don't know, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? No, what are you doing? No, what do you do? What are you doing is, what are you doing right now? Well, right now you're watching me and listening to me. Well, some of you are watching me. Probably most of you are simply listening to me. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you just joined me, I'm also, there's a camera in front of me. Makes me nervous, looking at me. And so as I'm speaking to, conforme que os estoy hablando, as I'm talking to you, at the same time, I'm talking into a camera. And some people, probably not you, but some people are following me on a streaming system. And so you can catch us. You can find us probably through the grupovaughan.com, or some way you can access vaughanradio.com or whatever. You can access the television, and you can see me. You can watch me talking. I wonder what I look like. I know what I look like in front of a normal television camera, but I don't know I don't know how I come across. How do I come across? How do I come across to you? Yes. How can I get my ideas across? Okay. Here we're using the adjective across. Across is a very important adjective in English that doesn't translate exactly to Spanish the same way. For example, my best friend lives across the street. My best friend lives across the street, which means mi mejor amigo vive enfrente de mi casa, vive enfrente, al otro lado de la calle, on the other side of the street. The British would often say that my best friend lives opposite me, opposite my house, which is perfect English. And the Americans say that too. He lives opposite. But it's more common in the U.S. and probably in Canada to say across the street. He lives right across the street from me. Hey, where does Charlie live? Charlie Evans? Yeah, Charlie Evans. He lives right across the street from me. Right across the street from me. Right across. All I have to do is cross the street. Whenever I want to see Charlie, I simply leave my house, cross the street, knock on the door, and Charlie's usually at home. Say, hey, Charlie, what you up to? What you up to? Oh, not too much. Come on in. Come on in. Yeah, we're good friends. Donde hay confianza, va. There's a lot of confidence between the two. So what you up to means what are you up to? Means what are you doing right now? What are you up to? What you up to? What are you up to? We never say what are you up to. We say what you up to. He says not too much. Not too much. Come on in. Come on in means come in. But we add on. Typical English speakers add extra prepositions. We are enamored of prepositions in our language. The English-speaking world has a love relationship, not a love-hate relationship with prepositions. And we add extra prepositions all the time. All the time. And so it's very difficult to learn these things because in Spanish, for example, you have specific verbs. Entrar, salir. All right. For example, if you're driving your car, just driving your automobile, riding along in my automobile with my baby next to me by the wheel. All right. Yeah. You're driving your car and you realize you need gas. You need petrol. Oh, we have to get some petrol. And so you need gasoline. And so you see a service station, a gas station, a petrol station, a filling station, 4 ways to say the same thing. Service station, petrol station, UK, Ireland, petrol station. Gas station, US, Canada. Filling station, to fill, del llenado. I think filling station is going out of fashion. I think filling station is an older expression. But when I was a little kid, we said filling station all the time. Probably the best is service station. Because I think in Great Britain, if you say petrol station in the US, people come again on that. Where you want to go? Yes, I'm looking for a petrol station. Oh, what's that? Yeah, to put petrol in my car. Petrol? Oh, you mean gas? All right. Yeah, they want gas. So if you're driving your car and you realize that the needle on the gas gauge or the gas indicator, the gasoline, the petrol gauge, the needle is on empty, well, you need to do something. You can't just continue driving because if you do, you'll run out of gas. You'll run out of petrol. And nobody likes to run out of petrol or to run out of gas or gasoline when they're on a long trip. Because then you have a clear dilemma. My God, you need to hitchhike to the next gas station and buy some gas in a container, hitchhike back, and then fill the gas and then take the car to the next gas station or petrol station. So, but this is not going to happen because you are a very conservative person and you never push to the limit. You never go to the limit, say, oh, this gas station, I'll go to the next one. And you don't know when the next gas station is or the next petrol station. Maybe it's 25 kilometers away and you'll run out of gas or run out of petrol before you reach it. But nevertheless, you're driving along in my automobile with my girl at the wheel. Well, no, I'm at the wheel. She's next to me. But I realize I'm running out of gas. I need to do something about this. Hacer algo al respecto. We say about it. Yeah, if you're running out of gas, don't just continue driving. Come on. Do something about it. Probably in Spanish you say, haz algo. But in English you say, haz algo acerca de ello. Al respecto. Do something about it. And so what you do is you wait. Say, let me see, I hope there's a gas station around the corner. No. Ugh. And then you decide to drive a little bit slower, because the slower you drive, up to a point, the less gasoline you consume per kilometer or per mile. And so you become more conservative in your driving, and you hope to make the car, the gasoline last as long as possible. And then finally you see a gas station. And when you see it, what a relief. What a relief. Relief escrito. Because to relieve is aliviar o aliviarse. Que alivio. What a relief. Relief also means a relieve del terreno, the relief. It's a geological term, the relief of the terrain. But relief also means, what a relief. I got a gas station. And to relieve is to alleviate. For example, aspirin or ibuprofen or paracetamol, these are called pain relievers. Pain relievers. The purpose of these pain relievers is to relieve pain. If you're suffering pain, especially a headache style of pain, well, you take a pain reliever with the hope of relieving the pain. All right, we say pain reliever and painkiller. Those are the two most common words for an analgésico. Pain reliever and painkiller. I recommend pain reliever because it's a neutral term. Painkiller often has negative connotations. Painkillers, take painkillers. If you say, ooh, my best friend is taking painkillers, you get the impression that maybe your good friend is a bit addicted maybe, or it's become habit forming for your friend and he's taking painkillers. Painkillers is often used in a negative way. Pain relievers is neutral. So my recommendation is saying para un analgésico, that you would say a pain reliever, to relieve the pain. But you feel relief if the headache goes away. Oh, I have a terrible headache on this side of my head. Oh, it's unbearable. I can't stand it. I'm going to kill myself. So I'm going to take 2 aspirin. It's interesting, we often say 2 aspirin, or 2 aspirins, at least in the U.S., or in my neck of the woods. In my neck of the woods is por mis lares, okay, por donde soy, in Texas and Oklahoma. People usually said 1 aspirin, 2 aspirin. Take 2 aspirin. We say this in the singular as if it were uncountable, uncountable. Take 2 aspirin. Yeah. But in any case, take 2 aspirins. And then the pain goes away. If the pain goes away, wow, you feel euphoric. Oh, I feel so good now. This happens to people who suffer migraines. I don't suffer migraines. Although for many years, from probably age 3, from the begin, as far back as I can remember, I suffered headaches, but they were small migraine style, one side, this side of the head, this side of the head, and they were unbearable, but they were not full migraines, because full migraines last sometimes for 2 days, and it completely disables the person. It incapacitates the person. The person has to stay relatively still in a dark room. It's horrible. I suppose I've never suffered it, but I've suffered what I call micro migraines, small migraines, and they're pretty tough. And finally, I managed to overcome it, and I don't suffer it anymore. Starting about 25 years ago, I discovered a trick. I discovered a way to trick the migraines. And I'm not going to have time to finish in this section the gas station and the prepositions I wanted to talk about. So remind me in the next section, but I'll finish the headache section, I think. I call myself a speaking Wikipedia. You hit a link and you go to another, and you go to another link and another link, and sometimes you never come back to the original trunk. But I'll try. But getting back to headaches, I suffered until about the age of, I'd say about the age of 40 years old. I suffered semi-migraines, let's say. And they were terrible. It was what you call an executive flameout headache. Because it means for executive, people who suffer stress during the week, tension, we're working very hard, very focused, very concentrated on everything. And then on Saturday morning, you sleep in, you sleep late, you sleep in, take it easy, and you get up maybe at 9:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock, not at 6 in the morning, and you begin to feel the beginning of a headache. Oh no. 5 hours later, it's unbearable. You're delirious with pain. Yeah. Walking around the house, because sitting down you're always looking for some way to relieve the pain. You take aspirin, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You take an ibuprofen, you take paracetamol, maybe they work, maybe they don't. And so and you just have to wait and bear it. Grin and bear it. To grin means to smile. Grin and bear it. It's expression in English. In Spanish, they have expression ajo y agua. Ajo y agua means, come on. And we say, grin, smile. O sea, sonríe y aguántalo. Grin and bear it. But I discovered a way. I beat the headaches. I defeated the problem. I found a way for these Saturday headaches. Because what happens, I think, probably, is if you have a week, 5 days of relative tension and stress, you're focused. And on the weekend, you release all this tension. And it probably expands one of the veins or something going up, or one of the arteries going to your brain, and it provokes a headache. They call it an executive flameout headache. But I'll come back and tell you how I defeated it.
Y aquí en su currículo dice que es usted Susana de la Tormenta de la Casa Targaryen, primera de su nombre que no arde, reina de Merín, reina de los Ándalos y los primeros hombres, Khaleesi del Gran Mar de Hierba, rompedora de cadenas...
Sí, y madre de dragones, con nivel alto de inglés. Ya no hace falta que exageres tu nivel de inglés. Con el método Vaughan es posible mejorar de verdad porque nuestros profesores te retan y acompañan para que obtengas los resultados que buscas. Apúntate ahora a nuestros cursos trimestrales y vive una nueva experiencia de aprendizaje con los profesores Vaughan. Apúntate ahora. Llama al 91-133-5833.
There are two kinds of teachers, outstanding teachers and the rest. With outstanding teachers, students enjoy the class. They enjoy the subject, and often they become passionate about the subject. When this happens, the learning curve changes dramatically, and students assimilate the material quickly, and they enjoy the effort. Why? Because they're motivated, super motivated. And why are they motivated? Because the teacher is outstanding. They love the teacher. Outstanding teachers produce outstanding students. Outstanding teachers make any subject interesting and often fascinating. When a subject is interesting or fascinating, the assimilation process on the part of the student is surprisingly solid and effective. This is true for the first kind of teacher, that is, the outstanding teacher. For the other kind of teacher, that is, for the rest, the learning process is slow, non-existent, or even backwards, regressive. Many times it's counterproductive. A mediocre teacher kills the subject. A mediocre teacher makes the subject boring and difficult. A mediocre teacher destroys the learning process. Concerning English, it's better to have no teacher than to have a mediocre teacher. So, only take English classes for outstanding teachers, okay? And how do you know if your teacher's outstanding? You know, it's like Cupid's arrow, como la flecha del amor. With an outstanding teacher, only 1 hour of class is the equivalent of 100 hours of class with a mediocre teacher, a teacher who only transmits boredom and negativity, killing the joy of learning English. 1 hour with a Vaughan teacher will convert the English language into something really interesting and maybe even fascinating. It's an emotional question. Only outstanding teachers can bring out the emotional element in the learning process. And when positive emotions enter the learning equation, everything changes, often dramatically. The difference between an outstanding teacher and the rest is colossal. It's total.
Cursos trimestrales de Vaughan, un curso a su medida con los mejores profesores y el método más eficaz. Clases de 6 alumnos como máximo durante 3 meses en un horario totalmente flexible a elegir entre 1 y 2 clases semanales.
Ahora es el momento. Apúntate a nuestros cursos trimestrales 100% método Vaughan. Clases 100% orales en grupos reducidos. Todos los niveles. Así que no pierdas ni un segundo más e infórmate ahora en el 91-133-5833 o en grupovaughan.com. Los cursos trimestrales de Vaughan son ideales para gente que necesita resultados a medio plazo y a un precio asequible. Descúbrelos en grupovaughan.com.
You're listening to Richard Vaughan Live.
Welcome back. All right, we're back together for our second hour. This is a 2-hour program, by the way, which means we only have 1 hour left. That's not very much time for you to learn English. My God, I need to fill the next hour with everything possible for you. I mean, my objective is not to teach you English from start to finish in only 1 hour or 2 hours. No, my objective is to teach you English from start to finish for my entire life. I've spent teaching my whole life. My whole life. Since the age of 22. Since the age of 22, I've been teaching English, and I'm still doing it. Yeah, that's what we call a life sentence. Cadena perpetua. Yeah, don't you agree? Not just cadena perpetua. Yeah. But it's nice. Teaching is a good profession. Yeah, because you help people. Sometimes people don't help you help them, but you help people. Okay, but I need to finish this story. You remember the story? Well, there were two stories. I was driving in a car, and I needed to stop at a petrol station or a gas station. But before I got off on a tangent, talking about headaches. And I said, talk about relievers. It's a relief. The person who was driving the car said, wow, I'm running out of gasoline. I need to do something. And finally, there's a gas station. What a relief. So I started talking about relief. And I started talking about pain relievers, aspirin, ibuprofen, paracetamol. These are different normal pain relievers, painkillers, pain relievers. And so I started talking about headaches, migraine headaches, and I started talking about headaches that I suffered many years ago, and I managed to defeat these Saturday executive flameout headaches. How? What did I do? What was my trick? What's my secret? Can I transmit or convey my secret to you? Maybe it works. If you suffer this, do the following. I finally realized that every Saturday I had a problem with headaches. And so I figured it was clear to me that probably it was the typical executive flame-out headache from stress. I was stressed, and it was the release of stress on the weekend when I relaxed. And it released stress, apparently, that provoked a headache. So I decided one Saturday, instead of sleeping in, instead of, enlazamos, linking, instead of sleeping, gerundio siempre, ojo, instead of sleeping in, to sleep in means to sleep late. Instead of sleeping in, I decided to get up at 5:45, the normal time for getting up. Yeah, to have a coffee, to have a breakfast, to take a shower, to shave, to take a shower, to brush my teeth. The British often say, to clean my teeth. I think they say something. To brush my teeth, etc. To take a shower, I repeat, to get dressed, not with a tie, but to get dressed in normal Saturday clothes. And then to relax, to sit down, read a book or read the news, go out and buy the newspaper, whatever. So I started the day as if it were a working day. And then I relaxed after 45 minutes of preparation for a normal working day. Then I relaxed, and I never suffered those headaches. So I fooled my head. To fool is to deceive. To fool, engañar. Antes de ayer, the day before yesterday was April Fool's Day. Literally, el Día de los Tontos de Abril. April Fool's Day means el Día de los Santos Inocentes, which you celebrate, or many countries celebrate, well, some Catholic countries or the countries, Spanish-American countries celebrated on the 28th of December, which, as I've told you many times, I don't agree with, because that was a tragic day. The death of all the innocent children in Bethlehem at the hands of Herod the Great, who died 1 or 2 years later after that. In fact, I think he died the same year, maybe. Herod the Great. Maybe he died because of this. Yeah, Herod the Great. And then his son took over, another Herod. I can't remember his exact name. But in any case, April Fool's Day. And April Fool's Day is a day of jokes in which we play jokes on other people or say things that are unbelievable as if they're true. And April Fool's Day. Okay. Yeah. And so it's because to fool people, yeah, to fool somebody is tomarle el pelo, engañándole. Yeah. To pull the wool over his eyes. We say in English sometimes, tirar la lana sobre los ojos, o sea, engañarle. To pull the wool, embaucar, to pull the wool over his eyes, to fool him, April Fool's Day. To fool. And so what I did with the headache was I fooled the headache. Said, ha, te pillé, I gotcha. I have got you, means I gotcha. Gotcha means, ha, te pillé. All right. You're not coming back anymore. And so for the next 6 months, basically, every Saturday, Sunday was not a problem. Saturday, it was the beginning of the weekend, the release of the tension, apparently, from my weekend, from the working week. And so for about 6 months or 7 months, every Saturday I got up at 5:45, took a shower, I brushed my teeth, had breakfast, had a coffee, etc., etc. Shaved, all the typical things you do in the morning in your morning rituals of getting ready for work. And then boom, stopped. And took it easy. I didn't suffer a single headache. And what's interesting is after 6 or 7 months, I stopped doing that and I slept in. And I didn't suffer headaches. So I broke, apparently, I don't know really, I don't know if there's a scientific explanation for this, but I broke the habit of suffering headaches on Saturdays. And never again. And that was 25 or 30 years ago. And so for the past 25 or 30 years of my life, I haven't suffered headaches very often, very, very rarely. And if I do suffer a headache, it's not that kind. It's a different type of headache. All right, so I don't usually take pain relievers to relieve the pain. I take an ibuprofen or an aspirin or a paracetamol maybe 5 times a year. Yeah. So it's not very common. Yeah, it's not very often. Some people say taking aspirin a day is good for you. In fact, it's very common in the U.S. In every pharmacy in the U.S., you have bottles with 87 milligrams or something. They're very, very small aspirin. You take one a day. Apparently, it's good for your blood circulation and good for your heart. But I wouldn't recommend you do it without a doctor's clear consent or recommendation on this. I don't know, because there is a certain debate. Although the debate favors the people who promote taking aspirin, it seems that it's good for you. But there are certain people who suffer internal bleeding more than others because aspirin produces a little bit of internal bleeding. And so maybe if you're prone to stomach acid problems, if you're prone to bleeding, internal bleeding, then I would recommend maybe you consult with your physician, as we say in the U.S. In the UK, I don't know if they use the word physician for doctor. Because doctor is médico. Yeah. And there are 2 words, doctor and physician. In the U.S., it's more common probably to say physician when you're referring formally to a doctor. I'm going to talk to my physician about that. All right. You need to go to a doctor. You need to go to a doctor. And I would use the informal way. Oh, you got a problem, Pablo. You've got a problem. You need to see a doctor. I think you should see a doctor about that. And so Pablo, being more formal, very well, I will consult with my physician. All right, physician. But I don't know if in the UK, I'll have to ask. Maybe during the break. I have a British friend in the control room with Nacho. And maybe I can ask if they use the word physician in the UK and Ireland. Who knows? But in the US, you hear it all the time. A physician. In fact, I think most doctors refer to themselves as physicians. Hey, what do you do for a living? What do you do? I'm a physician. Okay, I'm a doctor. People say that I'm a doctor. What kind? Specialist, because you don't have GPs anymore. It's a pity. General practitioners. Yeah. Here in Spain, they say médico de familia ahora. They used to say médico de cabecera. And that's interesting. Because médico de cabecera. Yeah. Is it true, Nacho? Es la cabecera de la cama. Yeah, la cabecera. Okay, that means the head of the bed. You know, a bed is the only object in the world that has 4 legs and only 1 foot. Did you realize that? Yeah, a bed is the only object in the world that has 4 legs but only 1 foot. You know, there are 4 legs on a bed, and there's the foot of the bed. But also the bed head, the head of the bed, they say in Spanish, la cabecera de la cama. And when they refer to a GP or a general practitioner, family doctor, all right, they used to say the bedhead doctor, médico de cabecera. I don't know the origin of that expression in Spanish, but now it's médico de familia. And this type of doctor is less and less common. For better or for worse. In Spanish, you would say para bien o para mal. We say para mejor o para peor. For better or for worse. For better or for worse. GPs, general practitioners or family doctors, seem to be in less supply than before. And really, a GP, a good GP, has a general overview of the human body and people. They can look at your eyes, the eye color. They can feel and they can catch things in general that maybe a specialist cannot catch. Because a specialist is expert on a special aspect or a special part of your health, your digestive system, or your respiratory system, or your brain, or your skin. A dermatologist is for your skin. A pneumologist is for your respiratory system. An allergologo, I don't know how to say it in English. Allergy expert for allergies. A neurologist is for your brain. A cardiologist is for your heart. And many more. Many more ologists. An endocrinologist is for your endocrine system, etc. But they, for example, a dermatologist, if you have jaundice or something and your eye color is a little bit off color, the white of your eyes is off color, a dermatologist might not realize it. Whereas a GP, a general practitioner, his job is to look into your eyes and to try to diagnose possibilities of illness and to look at the color of your skin to diagnose potential illnesses, to use the stethoscope and listen to your heart and try to diagnose potential problems. So they have a general overview. And people are reluctant nowadays to go to a GP because people think that, okay, I have a problem in my chest. I will go to a cardiologist. Well, maybe it's a problem with your lungs and you need a pneumologist. Or maybe it's a problem with digestive system and you're suffering heartburn, what you call ardor, or reflux, and you think it's a heart problem. That's for the digestive system. You see, so maybe the best thing is to go to a general practitioner, to a GP. All right, but in any case, we're talking about a lot of different things: pain relief, etc., doctors. But when I say what do you do? What do you do? I said this in the last hour. It means ¿a qué se dedica usted? ¿A qué te dedicas? Como actividad profesional o laboral. What do you do? This is very common in the English-speaking world. In the Spanish-speaking world, it's not very common for people to ask this. ¿A qué se dedica? If you go to a cocktail party in Spain, People never ask each other what they do for a living. I don't know how they converse. Spanish people have the ability to converse about the most superfluous or most, I don't know, the shallowest subjects for hours and hours, just talking with their beers or wines or glasses of sherry, and they're just chit-chatting. Chit-chat means talking to each other about mundane subjects, and they never really ask. You go to Great Britain or to the United States to a cocktail party, when two strangers meet, the first thing they say, hello, my name is Jim Evans. I'm Paul Smith. Well, tell me, Paul, what do you do? That's the first question. What do you do? Because the profession or the activity that the person does for a living normally leads to a potentially interesting conversation. What do you do? Well, I'm a dentist. Oh, really? That's interesting. And John, what do you do? Well, I'm a dog catcher. A dog catcher? Wow, that's the first time in my life I've ever met a dog catcher. Do you really catch dogs? Well, I work for the dog pound. Really? You work for the dog pound? Yeah, by the way, probably this is an American expression. Every city or big town has a problem with stray animals, stray cats and stray dogs. They don't have an owner, and they're loose. And so we call that the dog pound. I don't know why we use the word pound. Pound como una libra. ¿Cuánto pesa? 100 libras, 100 pounds. We say the dog pound. I don't know what they say in the UK. And the dog pound's job is to go out and find, locate, and to catch stray animals, especially, of course, dogs and cats, which are the most common stray animals, and to take them to the dog pound. And they keep them there. And after a certain number of days, they put them to sleep. They put them under. They kill them. They put them down. The British say to put down, I think, an animal. I think in the U.S. it's more common to put them to sleep, which means you kill them with an injection, a lethal injection. And so it's sad because these animals don't have an owner. However, you can go to the dog pound and you can see the dogs or the cats and you can take one. They encourage you, would you like a pet? Go to the dog pound and save the life of a dog or a cat and take it home, you see. And so, but if nobody claims a dog or a cat, after 1 week or 2 weeks, I don't know the time, they kill them because otherwise they don't have enough. It's too expensive to feed so many animals, and it's too expensive to keep them. And so in the end, the poor animals are put under, they are put down. It's just very sad. So I always encourage families, if they want a dog, go to the dog pound. It's free. You don't have to pay. You don't have to buy the dog. If you go to a pet shop, you have to buy the dog. And you see that, you see all these cute dogs and cats in the window. Mommy, I want that dog. All right. The doggy in the window, etc. Dog pound. Now, a dog catcher is the typical, you see it on the American cartoons, and a man with a big pole and a net trying to catch a dog. That's a dog catcher who works for the dog pound. And they catch the dogs, put them in the truck or the van, and then drive with 15 dogs in the back of the van, take them to the dog pound. So let's get back to our cocktail party. So we had Paul Evans and Jim Evans and Paul Smith, I think were the names I came up with. I came up with these two names. I invented them. But we don't say to invent names. We say to come up with a name. To come up with. He sacado estos nombres de la chistera. I pull these names out of a hat. Paul Smith and John Evans. Paul Smith and John Evans. Fine. They meet at a cocktail party. All right. And Paul says, "Hi, hello, my name is Paul Smith." And then, "Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Smith. My name is John Evans." And Paul says, "Well, tell me, John, what do you do?" And John says, "Well, I'm a physician," for example. "Oh, you're a doctor." "Yes." "A specialist?" "Yes, I'm a Endocrinologist. Oh, good. And John, what do you do? Paul, what do you do for a living? What do you do? Well, I'm a dog catcher. Wow. Really? A dog catcher? Wow. Do they pay well? Is it a good financially? Is it a lucrative job? Not really. I only earn $25,000 a year catching dogs. And how many dogs a day do you catch? I don't know. On a good day. Well, for me, I love dogs. So on a good day, I don't catch any. Well, has that ever happened? No. No, my job's, in fact, I have a quota. I have to fulfill a quota. Really? I mean, what's your quota? I have to catch 15 dogs a day. All right. And what about cats? Oh, they don't count cats. I don't know why. Why not? I don't know. Cats are not dangerous. Stray dogs can be dangerous for the community. But stray cats are usually not considered dangerous. So they don't place a quota. I don't have a goal. What is my goal for every day? My goal is to catch at least 15 dogs. In this city? That's right. I mean, my God, the population is only 160,000 people. This is a small city. Yeah. Small city, Toledo, Ohio. Yeah, this cocktail party, by the way, takes place in Toledo, Ohio. Yeah, not Toledo, Spain, but Toledo, Ohio, which is on the on Lake Erie. It's on Lake Erie, one of the 5 Great Lakes. Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, Lake Huron, Lake Superior, and Lake Michigan. The biggest, of course, is Lake Superior. That's why it's called Lake Superior. In fact, Lake Superior is the biggest freshwater lake in the world. Of course, lakes are always freshwater. But the problem is if you go into Google and you look at if you say the biggest lakes in the world, Google always puts the Caspian Sea as the biggest lake in the world. It is not. It's not. The Caspian Sea is saltwater, not agua dulce. Agua dulce, we say freshwater. So it doesn't count. The biggest freshwater lake is Lake Superior in area, but not in volume. Not in volume. Lake Superior is the biggest in area. Number 2 is Lake Victoria, interestingly, in Africa, in Central Africa. And number 3 is Lake Michigan, again, going back to the Great Lakes. These are very big lakes. When you see them, if you ever go to Chicago or to Milwaukee, which is located on Lake Michigan, it's impressive. It looks like an ocean. You can't see the other side. And you go to Toledo, Ohio, or you go to Cleveland, Ohio, you can't see the other side of Lake Erie, the Canadian side. So it's quite impressive. Eh? And but getting back to the story of the lake, the biggest lake in the world in volume is Lake Baikal, or Baikal. I don't know the Russian pronunciation, but it's located in Siberia, just north of the Mongolian border. Yeah, Lake Baikal. And it's the biggest lake in the world in volume of water because it's so deep. There's some points, the lake that's 1 kilometer deep. So it's the deepest lake in the world, Lake Baikal, which means if you want to swim to the bottom and touch the bottom and go back up, it's going to take you a long time to do it. All right. But getting back to our story, this interesting exchange at the cocktail party takes place in Toledo, Ohio, between Paul Evans and John Smith. Well, no, Jim Smith and Paul Evans. And one man is a physician, an endocrinologist, and the other's a dog catcher who works for the dog pound. And so the physician finally says, well, Jim, that's an interesting job, dog catcher. And so you have a quota you have to fulfill. Yes, Paul, I have to catch at least 15 dogs, otherwise I receive a salary cut. Oh, really? And what happens if you catch 30 dogs on one day? Well, then I have a bonus. Really? They pay you a bonus. The more dogs you catch, the more money you earn. Well, that's true. That's strange because you're a member of the local government, right? You're a functionary. You're a civil servant. Well, I guess so. Yeah, I'm a public employee. And tell me, but in a city like Toledo, Ohio, there are only 200,000 people or 160,000 people. Are there really? You can catch 30 stray dogs a day? Yeah. You'd be surprised. You would be surprised how many stray dogs there are in any city in this country or any place in the world. Wow. I didn't realize that. And what's the biggest problem you have in your job? The biggest problem I have is dealing with the SPCA. Dealing with the SPCA? Why? Well, because they don't agree with our tactics, what we do with the dogs. The SPCA. Yeah, but how do you say the SPCA in British English? I don't know. I think it's the RSPCA, the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, La Sociedad Protectora. And they always are trying to change our approach to catching dogs and keeping dogs. I'll be back.
Cursos trimestrales de Vaughan, un curso a su medida con los mejores profesores y el método más eficaz. Clases de 6 alumnos como máximo durante 3 meses en un horario totalmente flexible a elegir entre 1 y 2 clases semanales.
Ahora es el momento. Apúntate a nuestros cursos trimestrales 100% método Vaughan. Clases 100% orales en grupos reducidos. Todos los niveles. Así que no pierdas ni un segundo más e infórmate ahora en el 91 133 5833 o en grupovaughan.com.
Go along X Road.
Ve por la carretera X.
Go past the park until you come to...
Pasa por delante del parque hasta que llegues a...
Turn right at the traffic lights.
En el semáforo gira a la derecha.
Turn right onto X Road.
Gira a la derecha y coge la carretera X.
Go straight on through the first set of traffic lights.
Sigue recto después del primer semáforo.
Until you come to a roundabout.
Hasta que llegues a una rotonda.
Go round the roundabout.
Sigue por la rotonda.
Take the second exit onto X Road.
Coge la segunda salida hacia la carretera X.
Take the third turning on the left.
Coge la tercera a la izquierda.
When you get to the end of X Street,
cuando llegues al final de la calle X,
you'll see the bus station on your left.
Verás la estación de autobuses a tu izquierda.
Opposite the main post office.
Enfrente de la oficina de correos.
Go round the corner to the left onto X Street.
¿Y a ti? ¿Se te hace cuesta arriba el inglés? Clases 100% método Vaughan para todos los niveles que te darán el empujón que necesitas para vencer todas tus dificultades con el idioma. Más información en el 91 133 5833 o en grupovaughan.com.
Ya no hace falta que exageres tu nivel de inglés. Con el método Vaughan es posible mejorar de verdad porque nuestros profesores te retan y acompañan para que obtengas los resultados que buscas. Apúntate ahora a nuestros cursos trimestrales y vive una nueva experiencia de aprendizaje con los profesores Vaughan. Apúntate ahora. Llama al 91 133 5833.
Este verano tus hijos van a vivir un montón de aventuras en inglés. Y sin salir de Madrid, en los Urban Camps tenemos un montón de aventuras y temáticas disponibles y todo sin que los peques tengan que dormir fuera de casa. Tu reserva ya en campamentosvaughan.com. Urban Camps, aventuras en inglés. No las dejes escapar.
Por favor, ¿quería un helado? Sí, fresco. An ice cream? Yes, of course. What do you prefer? A tub of creamy vanilla ice cream, which is very smooth and soft, or a refreshing iced lemon drink? By the way, do you fancy toppings?
Oh, your English is fantastic. Where are you from?
Me? I'm from Vaughan Town.
Este verano, ven a Vaughan Town, el lugar donde vivirás una experiencia única que equivale a 500 horas de clase y mejorará tu nivel de inglés. Atrévete a vivir en inglés y verás la diferencia. Infórmate en el 91 133 5833.
En el Vaughan Camp del Atlético de Madrid, tus hijos se sentirán parte de la familia atlética mientras mejoran su nivel de inglés. Un campamento único en el que los niños trabajarán junto a monitores nativos y el equipo técnico del Atlético de Madrid. Vivirán una experiencia inolvidable en inglés y tendrán esa oportunidad que tú no tuviste. Llámanos al 91 133 5832 o entra en grupovaughan.com.
Empower your English. Empower yourself.
Las mañanas son más productivas con Richard Vaughan.
You're listening to Richard Vaughan Live.
Hello and welcome back. Okay, we're back together on today's Tuesday edition of Richard Vaughan Live. Today's Tuesday, right, Nacho? Today's Tuesday. Yeah, I lose track of time. As you get older, you pay less attention to the particular details of time and of anything else. It's interesting. I don't pay attention. What's today? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? I have no idea because I'm not really paying too much attention. It's true about many, many things. Now with classical music, for example, I don't care. You know, if it's Vivaldi, Bach, or Beethoven, or Chopin, or Schopenhauer, I don't really care. I just enjoy the music. 30 years ago, I was very focused. Now, that is this third movement from the Seventh Symphony of Schumann. All right, bam. Schumann doesn't have a Seventh Symphony, by the way. But in any case, I was an erudite in not only in enjoying the music, but in knowing exactly what it is. Not anymore. I don't pay attention to the erudition of this. I don't pay attention to the academic details to impress people. You know, that's the second movement of Beethoven's Third Symphony, which in fact is the only part I like. It's funny about the La Eroica, what they call the Heroic Symphony, by Ludwig van Beethoven. I don't like it, and I've given it many opportunities. I've played it many times and, okay, I'm going to start liking this symphony. And it never happens. You know, it's funny about some pieces of music. And I'm very sensitive to music. I compose music myself, but it just doesn't touch me. It doesn't transport me at all, except the second movement. And there's a certain part of the second movement, which is the most famous part of the Third Symphony, by Beethoven, and it does transport. But the problem is it only lasts about a minute, and that's it. Okay, it is true, music can transport you. It can truly transport you and take you floating up into the ether or the ether. And there's certain songs. And it's interesting that certain types of music, and not only classical music, it could be rock and roll, it could be pop music. There's certain songs or certain melodies or certain harmonies or certain counterpoints, etc., that just carries me away, transports me to another dimension. And it's interesting. However, jazz, never. Jazz, no. And I like jazz. Jazz is mellow. Jazz is mood music, which provokes you, encourages you to adopt a mood. Jazz, or the blues as well. And so it's which I like, but it doesn't transport me. It doesn't take me to another galaxy, etc. But it's interesting about music. But I've been going off on tangents. The original subject was I was driving in my car, and I was running out of gasoline. You remember, those of you who joined me late, by the way, about an hour ago, I started talking about driving in my car, and I realized that I needed to stop for gas because I was planning to teach to pull into, to pull out of, to pull out onto, to pull off onto, and I never got to it. So I'm riding along in my automobile. Yeah, my baby beside me at the wheel. Yeah, like the song, you remember? Riding along in my automobile, my baby beside me at the wheel. I stole a kiss at the turn of a mile, my curiosity running wild, cruising and playing the radio, with no particular place to go. Yeah, riding along in my automobile. I was anxious to tell her the way I feel, so I told her softly and sincere, and she leaned and whispered in my ear, cuddling more and driving slow with no particular place to go. All right. That's the first part of the song. And I'm not going to tell you the rest of the song. If you're interested, then you need to go into Google and just type in. Type in means introducir mediante el tipeo, o la tecla, and teclear. Type in No Particular Place to Go by Chuck Berry. You know famous Chuck Berry? Yeah. Johnny Be Good. Way down in New Orleans. I can't remember the name. I can't remember the lyrics to Johnny Be Good. Johnny Be Good. John, Johnny Be Good. All right. Yeah, Johnny Be Good. Yeah. Deep down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back up in the woods among the evergreens, there stood a log cabin made of earth and wood, where lived a country boy named Johnny Be Good, who never ever learned to read or write so well, but he could play a guitar like a ringing a bell. Go, 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 Johnny, go, go, go. All right. This is one of the most famous songs in the history of rock. Yeah, this goes back to the early days of rock. Chuck Berry, Bill Haley and the Comets. You remember Bill Haley and the Comets? 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock rock. We're going to rock around the clock tonight. Yeah, to rock around the clock. Yeah. And this is Johnny Be Good. Deep down in Louisiana. Yeah, Louisiana is a state that is famous for the swamps. Yeah, Louisiana. A French tradition there is basically because of the Acadians. The French Acadians, who are French Huguenots, who escaped France and went to Canada, New Brunswick area, I believe, and then a certain segment of them decided to leave Canada and went down around the tip of Florida into the Gulf of Mexico, and they found an area in southern Louisiana that was so insalubrious, so unhealthy, they'd say nobody's going to want to live here, so they settled there. They wanted to be able to practice their religion, to worship. To worship is rendir culto. They wanted to worship according to their own beliefs without being bothered or persecuted by others. And so they looked for an area that nobody would be attracted to. Swamps, snakes, alligators, all kinds of slimy creatures down in the swamps of southern Louisiana. That's Cajun country. Cajun. You know, now if you go to certain restaurants, American-style restaurants in Madrid, you can order, costillas al estilo Cajun. Okay, Cajun-style ribs, spare ribs or pork ribs. And it's Cajun. The word is Cajun, but we say Cajun. And it's a deformation over the centuries of the word Acadian. Acadian. And so the Cajuns in Louisiana comes from the Acadian, which was a Huguenot Protestant group that originally escaped from persecution from France. Interesting story. And there are Acadians still in New Brunswick, in one of the provinces of Canada. There are pockets of Acadian settlers, or the descendants of the Acadians. This was very common back then. Back then, in those years, for example, the Pilgrims or the Puritans left England and Holland, and they moved across into the Massachusetts Bay Colony, Plymouth Rock and Massachusetts Bay. So Boston, the city of Boston, and that area of Massachusetts, and Rhode Island with Roger Williams, which was a splinter group. Splinter is una astilla. Se astilla la madera. A splinter group means they were together and then they broke away, and it was a splinter group. Roger Williams, and he went around and settled in Providence. Well, he settled in what is today Rhode Island, the smallest state in the United States. The capital is Providence. Providencia, la Providencia. It's an interesting word, Providence. But I've never been there, by the way. I've never been there. But I've been to Louisiana, and I've been to Oklahoma, and I've been to Spain. Yeah. So the song, another song that I can't sing because it's not true. And the song goes, well, I've never been to Spain, but I've been to Oklahoma, And they tell me I was born there, but I really don't remember. In Oklahoma, in Arizona, what does it matter? What does it matter? ¿Qué importa? Silly songs. Where do I find all these songs? I mean, I'm an old man, so I have accumulated a lot of culture, quote, unquote. I've accumulated a lot of culture, which includes musical culture. And I'll never forget that song. Because first of all, I lived in Oklahoma for 9 years. Second, I live in Spain, so it's the song has a connection to me. Well, I've never been to Spain, but I kind of like the music. But I've never been to Spain, but I've been to Oklahoma. And they tell me I was born there, but I really don't remember. In Oklahoma, in Arizona, what does it matter? What does it matter? That was by a group called the Three Dog Night. Strange name, Tres Perro Noche. Three Dog Night. But they, for a period of about 2 years, they were the number one group, pop music group in the United States. 1969, 1970, 1971. Yeah. And they were very, very popular. 1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. 2 can be as bad as 1. But nothing as lonely as the number 1, etc. Silly song. But nevertheless, they were very, very good. 3 singers, backed up by musicians, good musicians. 3 singers, different voice inflections, different voices, and they were very good. Yeah, Mama told me not to come. That ain't the way to have fun. Okay, but getting back to the story. Driving along in my automobile, and I need some gas. I need some petrol, because I'm running out. Yeah. And so I see a gas station, and so I pull into the gas station. Strange. Why do we use the word pull? Pull is the opposite of push. Push, pull. Yeah. But we say to pull into a gas station, which is not pulling. I mean, we're turning the steering wheel and guiding the car or driving the car into a gas station. Why into? Because really the gas station or the petrol station consists of a building and then maybe a roof, a protection, the gas pumps. I don't know the official word for surtidor de gasolina. We say the gas pumps. Maybe the British say the petrol pumps, but I don't know what they say. And it doesn't matter. Don't worry about British English or American English. People will understand you whatever you say. And you'll understand them if you develop a good ear. So you pull into the gas station. There's a nut. To enter the gas station, we don't say. The only way we say this in English is to pull into. You pull into the gas station. You fill the tank. You pay. And you drive out and you pull out of the gas station. You pull into, pull out of. Pull into, pull out of. But sorry, but I'm going to add a second preposition. Or a third. Out of. And then I'm going to add to pull out onto. Yeah, because you pull out of the gas station onto the motorway, the road, the highway, or whatever. You pull out onto the highway. Yeah, you pull off of the road into the gas station. Then you pull out of the gas station onto the road. And if there's the police behind you, the siren, and you look into the rear view mirror and you see a police car behind you. In the U.S., often we would say the highway patrol, la patrulla de la carretera, the highway patrol, and the light is flashing, which means they want you to pull over. And if you don't, at least in the U.S., the police and the highway patrol have a loudspeaker saying, "Pull over, please. Pull over, pull over, pull over," and means turn the steering wheel a bit and take the car to the side of the road or to the shoulder of the road and stop. Keep your hands on the wheel. And now this is advice for you. If you go to the States and rent a car and you have the bad fortune or the bad luck that the police stop you or the highway patrol stop you, keep your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the policeman or the patrolman to come to the window of your car. In fact, I would recommend you roll down the window. We say roll down, which means to lower the window before the policeman comes. So the policeman can see your hands. That's the problem. Okay. Don't get out of the car yourself. All right. And just wait. And the policeman will say, may I see your driver's license, etc., etc. May I see your car papers, maybe? The papers on the car. So you need to open the glove compartment or the dash compartment. It's interesting. In Spanish, you say la guantera. And in English, we often say, usually I think, the glove compartment. Compartimento de guantes. You know, why? Well, it's because if you go back 80 years, in the early cars, they had a compartment where you wore gloves. Because cars often didn't have heating. So it was cold. And so they had a little compartment to put the gloves in. And that was called the glove compartment. And we still use that word today. Guantera in Spanish, and the glove compartment in English. It's interesting how the original words are still used today in every way. For example, in Great Britain, say the boot for the maletero. But in America, we say the trunk. It's interesting. The trunk. And the reason we say trunk is because going back to the first cars did not have compartments in the back, a boot. They had people put a trunk. A trunk is un baúl. You know, a big container for traveling, a big suitcase, square, rectangular, enormous, very heavy, and it's called a trunk. And so you put the trunk on the back of the car. And so it was the trunk. So in American English, we have conserved that concept of trunk. The British developed the concept of boot. I don't know why. I don't know the origin of the word boot for the maletero del coche. I need, again, to ask my British friends. And I always forget to ask them. Well, the moment this class is over, I'm out of here. And I forget all of these curious ponderings that I go through. But in any case, so if the police stop you, you need to pull over. If you see a gas station, you can pull into the gas station. Once you finish filling the tank, you pull out of the gas station. All right, to pull. And if I want, for example, on the computer here, if I want to see the lyrics of a song, the words of a song, I will pull out the website. I'll pull out the page in question, right, to pull it out. Of course, it gives the impression that I stick my hand into the computer screen. By the way, there's a computer here. I stick my hand into the computer screen, grab the web page I want, and pull it out to the screen. You know, so we say it, to pull it out, to pull out a website, to pull out a web screen, or a web page, to pull it out. So we use the verb to pull a lot. We use it a lot. To pull away, to pull over. A pullover is a type of sweater that is not buttoned. You just pull it over your head. It's a pullover. Pull, we're pulling. And so we use a lot with verbs and a lot of prepositions, the dynamic use of prepositions. But at the very beginning, almost 2 hours ago, I started this program with the idea of conveying, transmitting, and getting my ideas across. Yeah. I was talking about the teaching to get across the importance of things. All right. In Spanish, you have the verb transmitir. And in English, we have the verb to transmit. Transmit. Now, when we use the verb transmit, you can say, I need to find an effective way to transmit my feelings to you. That's correct English, but nobody says it that way because the verb to transmit first gives you an idea of electricity, electronics, telegraph, telephone transmissions. It sounds technical. Transmission. To transmission, to transmit. And then we have the verb to convey. To convey. To convey. To convey means to carry in your direction from me to you. To convey. In fact, we say conveyor belt for what you call in Spanish cinta transportadora. For example, conveyor belts in every school in the United States, even when I was in elementary school, primary school. This is in 1957, 1958, 1959. I had lunch in the school cafeteria. And we had trays. Of course, we had to stand in line, go down the line, choose the food or receive the food. I don't remember if it was mandatory. and then carry it to the table, sit down, eat it. And then when we were finished, we needed to pick up the tray and take it to a conveyor belt and put it on the belt. The belt was moving. Belt, como cinturón. It's a cinta transportadora, and it was moving. Even in 1958, this is in prehistoric times for you, probably, they had conveyor belts that conveyed, in this case, the tray and the dirty dishes down to the kitchen and to the dishwashing area of the kitchen, all right, for the dishwashers. And it's a conveyor belt, so to convey. But we use convey figuratively, to convey my ideas, to convey my feelings to you, to convey my intentions. It's perfect English, but it's a little bit high level. It's come down to more natural English, we say, to get across. Sorry, but you see, these phrasal verbs we use in a very natural way. I recommend you use convey or transmit, because to get across is probably you'll make grammatical mistakes if you try to use it, but you need to understand it. I need to find a way to get across to you the importance of devoting quality time to English. How can I get my ideas across to you? How can I get my intentions across to you? How can I get this idea, this important point across to you? How to get your ideas across to other people? It's a very interesting subject, a very important subject that you need to think about. Not only in English, but in Spanish, in your own native tongue, in your own native language or your mother tongue. How to get your ideas across. How to get anything across. How to get your ideas across to other people. And so it's not easy to do it effectively. It's surprising how difficult communication can sometimes be to do it right. So people understand you fully. They understand you perfectly well and can respond in line with your instructions. How to get your ideas across. Sometimes you need to be repetitive on purpose. Yeah. I don't know. For example, this pen. I say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, for example, if I'm the boss of my department. I'm speaking to the people in my department. Okay, guys, starting tomorrow, we will all use these type of semi-transparent pens. Now, these pens are opened by pulling like this, you see, and then you can write with them. But be sure that after you finish writing, that you close the pen again firmly, because otherwise we will run out of ink. The ink will dry up more quickly. So remember, starting Monday morning, we will have these new pens. There will be a new pen on every desk. All of you will have one. And remember that when you need to use the pen, you simply pull like this, you see. Then you write whatever you need to write, and then be sure, don't forget, to close the pen properly. And can you hear that? And seal it to save ink. We don't want to spend a lot of money on ink. And so that's giving instructions, basically, and how to get the ideas across to my people so they don't forget. They'll remember they'll remember these things. And that's transmitting or getting your ideas across or getting instructions across to other people. How to communicate. Todos muda. How to communicate properly. How to get your ideas across. And so you need to be careful. For example, you say, my God, for example, if you want to convince the boss of a new plan, you say, hey, boss, listen, this plan here, this plan will increase our profits by at least 20%. This plan will increase our profits by at least 20%. Well, probably the boss will say, well, tell me more about the plan. So you have the boss's attention. For example, the boss, many people want to speak to the boss. If you want to speak to the boss and you want to get the boss to do something for you, well, you have to get the boss to listen to you. Probably the best thing to do is after work today, stay late at your job. Stay late. Yeah, don't go home early or at the normal time. Wait until the boss leaves. Wait until the boss goes home. And then very few people in the office, maybe only the cleaning ladies. And the boss's door is open, okay? Because the cleaning ladies are planning to go in and clean the boss's office, okay? So you look around, the cleaning ladies out there, go into the boss's office. Go on. Go ahead. Go in. Close the door. All right. Close the door. Now go back behind the boss's desk. Sit down. Yeah, try out that big, comfortable chair. Nice, isn't it? Now close your eyes. The boss's office, silent, sepulchral, empty. Yeah, now in that chair, now close your eyes and try to imagine what the boss hears every day. Now, if you'll just let me go to Tokyo, JD. Sir, all the big companies have their own private airplanes. This plan will increase our profits by at least 20%. Now, which one do you hear the most? The last. Getting your ideas across. See you tomorrow.
¿Y a ti? ¿Se te hace cuesta arriba el inglés? Clases 100% método Vaughan para todos los niveles que te darán el empujón que necesitas para vencer todas tus dificultades con el idioma. Más información en el 91 133 5833 o en Grupo Vaughan.